There are thousands of cryptocurrencies out there, and if you watch this channel for any amount of time, you probably noticed that I keep coming back to the same handful of projects. That's done intentionally. There are 10 projects that I plan to focus a large portion of this channel on, of course, as well as others, but the main 10 I chose for a reason. It's not because of the price, it's because of the utility and the functionality. Each one potentially solves a different problem. We're talking bridge assets, payment rails, tokenization, trade finance, data, cloud infrastructure, streaming payments, and even emerging machine-to-machine economy agentic payments. I want to put all 10 projects on one screen and explain why each one has earned a place on my research list. Before we get into the list, I want to make sure something is super clear here. I'm not saying all of 10 of these projects are the best in existence. I'm not even saying all 10 are guaranteed to succeed. And I'm definitely not saying you should go out and buy all 10 projects or any projects. Always do your own research. What I'm interested in is utility, functionality, application. I want to know, what problem is this network solving? Who actually needs that solution? Where could that technology fit in if blockchain adoption continues moving into payments, financial markets, tokenized assets, artificial intelligence, data, machine-to-machine commerce? When I look at crypto through that lens, these 10 projects continually give me something worth researching. And when we put them all together, something really interesting starts to happen. They're not trying to solve the same problem or one problem. They're potentially building something much different, a piece of a much larger system. And before we get into the video, the 10 projects here, if you are new, this is a much different format than I typically would do, guys. I'm on the road traveling right now. I'm actually right here in front of or behind one of the largest aquariums in America, or it is the largest one, I'm not sure. If you know what I'm talking about, let people know down in the comments. And to kind of point out the obvious, I am not a lighting guy. As you can see, my lighting is terrible. I'm sorry for that. As I was thinking about the video, I was like, I'm gonna go buy a ring light or whatever to give me a light, but by the time I do that, come back, the lighting's gonna be different and it's not worth it. And also to point out some transparency here, guys, if you've been following this channel for a while, you can probably tell I am reading from a teleprompter. I'm doing that because of one reason mainly, is because as I go through these 10 projects, and this is mainly for you guys that have been around for this channel for a while, and as well, if you're new, of course, you're welcome as well. But if you've been here for a while, I'm trying to lay out what I'm trying to do on this channel and why I speak about certain projects. I get questions as to why I don't speak about this project or that project. And as we get to this video, I think you'll understand and you'll see what I'm trying to do, or at least I hope you will see. And if you watch that video from Wednesday, where we're talking about how you need to invest in the future and not today, and this kind of gave me the idea for this video here, that we could talk about the projects that I speak about on this channel and why I do that. I don't think I've ever really done so. And also I'm using this teleprompter because I want to be accurate and concise and not go down rabbit holes. You know I will do that on you, so I want to respect you on that. Let's go ahead and get into it. The first one's going to be XRP. I'm going to go through a couple of things, and by the time you get to the end of it, I think you'll have a different perspective of the crypto market and also a different perspective on these projects. So let's get into it, guys. When we think about XRP, I use two words for XRP: bridged assets, bridge assets. At the most basic level, XRP is designed to move value quickly between different assets and currencies. The important idea here is liquidity. If the future financial system contains traditional currencies, stablecoins, tokenized assets, central bank money, and other digital assets, those different forms of value may need ways to move between one another efficiently. That's the role I continue watching XRP for, not simply as another cryptocurrency, but as a potential liquidity and value transfer layer. That's why XRP continues to be one of the core projects on this channel. Next is HBAR, the native asset of Hedera. For HBAR, my focus is tokenization. As financial assets increasingly move into digital environments, we're not just talking about cryptocurrency anymore. We're talking about securities, funds, stablecoins, real-world assets, loyalty systems, enterprise applications, and potentially many other forms of value being represented digitally. That creates demand for infrastructure capable of issuing, managing, and transferring those assets. That's the part of the puzzle that makes Hedera interesting to me. HBAR represents my category for tokenization. And before we get into the rest of the ones, guys, I just wanted to kind of point out these projects will have many use cases other than the ones I'm highlighting. And I understand that some of these will overlap and some of these do kind of work with each other and have the same functionality. I understand all that as well. So if you do want to let people know what other functionalities these assets have, definitely let people know down in the comments. It's good to educate the people around you as well. So by all means, if you are interested in putting what I'm missing down in the comments, please do so. That'd be amazing. And also hit the like button if you could, guys. Let's get into the next one, which is going to be XLM. So we have XLM, the native asset for Stellar. For Stellar, I use the words payment rails. Stellar has spent years focusing on money moving, connecting digital assets, creating infrastructure that can interact with real-world financial systems. We're thinking payments, remittances, on and off ramps, and the movement between fiat money and digital value. From a 30,000 feet, XRP and XLM can look sometimes similar, but that's exactly why I continue researching both. I want to understand where their ecosystems overlap, where they don't, and what role each one could potentially play. For this map, XLM represents payment rails. Next is ZBCN, the ZBEC network token, and this one represents streaming payments. Most of us think about payments as individual transactions. I send you $50. A company pays an employee every 2 weeks. A customer pays a monthly subscription. But programmable money creates another possibility. Money can potentially move continuously. An employee could receive compensation as it is earned. A service could be paid for as it is consumed. Software or machines could potentially exchange tiny amounts of value automatically. Think agentic payments, guys. And the concept of continuous and programmable payments is what makes ZBEC so interesting to me. ZBCN represents streaming payments. Next is SHX from Stronghold. For SHX, I use the words Fiat Rails. Here's why that matters. Crypto can build incredible technology, but at some point it has to interact with financial systems that people and businesses actually use today. We're thinking bank accounts, payment networks, businesses, consumers, dollars, and traditional financial infrastructure. The bridge between blockchain-based systems and traditional fiat infrastructure could become extremely important if adoption continues, like the Clarity Act finally gets done. That's the area I'm watching with Stronghold. SHX represents fiat rails. Next is XDC. For XDC, the category is trade finance. Global trade is massive, and much of the infrastructure behind it can still involve complicated processes, multiple intermediaries, financing, documentation, and settlement. We're talking about things like invoices, receivables, trade documents, and real-world assets. Blockchain technology potentially gives this market another way to digitize and move those assets and information. That's a very different use case from simply buying something with cryptocurrency. And that's exactly why XDC gets its own place on this list. XDC represents trade finance. Next is CC, connected to the Canton coin ecosystem. For Canton, the words I use are private settlement. This represents another side of institutional blockchain adoption. Large financial institutions may want the benefits of distributed infrastructure, tokenization, and interoperability, but they don't necessarily want every transaction, every position, and every piece of financial information publicly visible to everyone. Private and permissioning matter. That makes infrastructure design around institutional privacy and synchronized financial markets extremely interested. For this map, CC, Canton Coin, represents private settlement. Next is ICP, Internet Computer. And now we're moving away from payments almost entirely. For ICP, my category is Decentralized Cloud. A lot of blockchains are primarily thought of as networks that move or settle assets. ICP takes that conversation further into computing. The idea is that decentralized infrastructure can potentially host application services, data, and computing functionality itself. So instead of blockchains only sitting underneath an application as settlement layer, more of the application can potentially exist on decentralized infrastructure. That's a completely different piece of the digital economy. ICP represents decentralized cloud infrastructure. Next is DAG from the Constellation Network. For DAG, I use the words data validation. This is important because if we're eventually talking about billions of devices, applications, machines, financial systems, and AI agents communicating with one another, money isn't the only thing that needs to be trusted. Data does too. Where does this information come from? How has it been changed? Can another system trust it? Can different sources of data be validated before the information is used to make a decision? Trusted data infrastructure could become increasingly important as the digital economy becomes more automated. That's why DAG remains on my radar. DAG represents validation. And finally, we have QAIT or QAIT. For QAIT, my category is the machine economy. This may be the most futuristic category on the entire slide. We're moving toward a world with more AI agents, robots, autonomous system, vehicles, satellites, sensors, and connected devices. Those machines increasingly need to communicate with one another. They need identity. They need security. They need trusted information. And eventually, some of them may need the ability to exchange value without human manually approving every individual interaction. Think about that. That's huge, guys. That's why the machine economy is a category I'm going to spend much more time investigating. QAIT represents that machine economy piece of the puzzle. And now let's zoom back out and look at the entire slide again. This is the reason I wanted all 10 projects on one screen. We have XRP Bridge Asset, HBAR Tokenization, XLM Payment Rails, ZBCN Streaming Payments, SHX Fiat Rails, XDC Trade Finance, Canton Coin, CC Private Settlement, ICP Decentralized Cloud, DAG Validation, Data Validation, and QAIT Machine Economy. 10 projects, 10 different roles, and that's the key. I'm not looking for 10 cryptocurrencies that all do the exact same thing. I'm trying to identify different pieces of the infrastructure that could potentially be needed if blockchain tokenization, artificial intelligence, and digital assets continue moving into the real economy. And this slide is also going to become a roadmap for this channel. Where major developments happen around these projects, we're going to investigate them. We're going to follow the technology. We're going to follow the partnerships. We're going to follow adoption, we're going to follow regulation, and most importantly, we're going to try to separate what is actually happening from social media say is happening. Okay, so now that we got through all 10 projects, I hope that you see the bigger picture here. When you put them all together, the more macro view here, each one is solving a different problem. Although, yes, they can overlap, and although, yes, they will have different functions than I mentioned, we step back, we look at XRP, for example, being the liquidity layer where you have XLM, ZBEC, SHX being more the payment rails, the on and off switches, the streaming payments, right? The trusted layer, all these things. Then you have the intermixes with DAG and QAIT, how they're going to make those robots that are coming our way, how they're going to give them identity and security and validation and functionality. It's all coming together. We have, Tesla building these robots. We're in the middle of the fourth industrial revolution. And if you do this right, you're going to have an opportunity of a generation, not just your generation, your grandkids are like, wow, my grandparents did this, right? This is the kind of opportunity we're in right now. And for me, these 10 projects, yes, I hope they all, hit, astronomical prices one day, but that's not why I'm in it. That's not why I'm bringing this information to you guys. I'm excited about what this technology is doing. I find it fascinating, and I'm excited to see this world transform as we are moving through it right now in real time. And we're going to be able to look back and say, hey, look what we were a part of. We had this opportunity, and we were the few people awake enough to see this coming our way. So I hope that you see through these 10 projects as we go through the videos going forward and in the past as well. You can see how they all come together, and you can see your future coming together as well. I hope you found some value in this video, guys. If you did, please consider hitting that subscribe button, that like button, sharing with a friend. And before I let you guys go, take care of yourself, take care of the people around you, and become the change you want to see in this world. I'll catch you on the next one.